How does this theory handle instinctual desires? This brings up almost a fourth category of determinism, a directed deterministic cause that is so overpowering that it is as though it were part of the thinking apparatus itself. I want to consider a related question that is very familiar to all of us. Consider the wearing of masks during the latter part of the COVID epidemic. There were parts of the world where there were no lockdowns or wearing of masks, and there were parts of the world where there were lockdowns and the wearing of masks was mandated. Suppose there were two people, mask and no mask, one of whom felt that wearing the mask was useful, and the other who felt wearing the mask was not useful. For the sake of argument, let's assume that they both had strong intuitions about this. Both people are otherwise normal and have strong desires to avoid unnecessary conflict. Then, if M travels on business to Norway, Florida, or wherever it may have been that they refused to lock down, under what circumstances would the person not wear a mask? The person is aware of his desire to avoid unnecessary conflict, but he has a relatively strong belief that something untoward may happen to himself or someone he meets if he does not wear a mask. So there are two directed causes working to shape his thinking on the matter. He could balance the two causes out, or he could reason that possibly these causes have too much influence on his thought processes under even these circumstances. In that case, he could attempt to determine what he believes the risk is and what he believes the protective capabilities of the mask are and make peace between his competing directed causes. Once he has done that, he may know that there is a significant risk and that logically he must wear the mask. Or he may find that there isn't such a risk and that there is no need to wear the mask. If he decides that logically he should wear the mask, desire to avoid conflict will still rear its head. If he is driven to follow reason wherever it might go, I suppose he must wear the mask. On the other hand, he will probably realize that there is something undesirable in his preferences and that he must retrain or somehow balance his thinking, probably by following his reason. The point is, decisions like this are not free of constraints. There is a right and a wrong in most cases. Here the question is one of finding the correct criteria for a decision, and that is a decision that M must search the preferences, reason, and imagination to achieve an answer. But as we can see, M can have a free thought life and the freedom to choose which system of criteria he wishes to use to make his decision, which criteria will most satisfy him. There may only be one or there may be several. He is free to choose between them. Yet getting his body to obey his mind seems to be the real issue here. And I find the question fascinating because of this dichotomy. Question: does free will also have to do with actualizing the thoughts themselves? If M decides in his mind that he must wear the mask but is too cowardly to do so, is he still wholly determined? I would say that he is not, because there is always the possibility that he can find a method to be heroic and do as he wills. But there is still room for doubt. The thought life seems free enough, but translating the thoughts into action is more problematical. To what extent is overcoming sort of a psychological inertia governed by deterministic influences? Can thought overcome the inertia? I believe that it is possible, but empirical trial is necessary to be sure. Now, N has a more difficult row to hoe because she must face legal consequences in many cases, but I think the reasoning must be similar.